Spiritual forces always hover around us. They exist in a separate realm that is not visible in reality, but certain incidents make their presence felt. This is the story of a haunted mansion. There is an old mansion where kings and royals once lived many years ago. However, it now stands abandoned because the descendants of those kings have moved abroad. The mansion is in a dilapidated state and requires urgent repairs. As per a government notice, the property's owner is informed about its condition. A few days later, one of the descendants of the former royals, a young woman named Urmila, arrives at the mansion with her child. She is the granddaughter of the king's grandson. Urmila's husband had died in a car accident, leaving her widowed. However, she has an 8-year-old son who accompanies her to the mansion. The mansion is enormous, so a team of workers is hired to clean every corner. No one knows how many bloody secrets are hidden within its walls. After Urmila's arrival, the atmosphere of the mansion starts feeling eerie. It seems as if someone has been waiting for years for the rightful heir to return. One night, Urmila was sleeping in her room with her child when suddenly a bird crashed into the window and died. This incident was unusual in itself. As soon as the bird struck, Urmila woke up. When she turned on the light, she screamed in terror because the bird was stuck in the window, and drops of blood were dripping onto the floor. The sight was so horrifying that she didn't want to wake her child. However, mustering courage, she removed the bird from the window and threw it outside. But after that, she couldn't sleep all night. She stayed awake until morning, wondering if someone had done this as a prank. As soon as dawn broke, Urmila approached the workers cleaning the mansion and said, "Last night, a bird crashed into my window and died instantly. Did any of you do this?" Because a bird wouldn't just fly into the window on its own like that. The workers replied, "No, we didn't see any dead bird below the window. We just came from there." Perplexed, Urmila and the workers went to check, but to her shock, the bird was nowhere to be found. "What? The bird should be here. At least there should be some bloodstains," she murmured in disbelief. But there was no sign of the bird, not even a single feather. Feeling uneasy, Urmila warned the workers, "There are many valuable artifacts and statues in this mansion. Be careful while cleaning." The workers resumed their tasks, while Urmila stayed in her room with her child, watching TV. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed through the mansion. A worker had fallen from the ceiling. Hearing the commotion, Urmila rushed to the window. What she saw made her blood run cold. There, on the ground, lay the lifeless body of a worker. Urmila rushes downstairs and asks about the cause of the worker's fall. The answers she receives are conflicting. Some say he committed suicide, while others believe he fell by accident. Everyone has a different story, but amidst the noise, Urmila hears something chilling, whispers, barely audible yet unmistakable. Suddenly, a voice hisses in her ear, "Save your child if you can." Panic grips her heart. Without wasting a second, she dashes toward her room. Her child is alone, watching TV. As soon as she enters, she is horrified to see her son about to jump out of the window. She lunges forward and grabs his leg just in time. The child dangles dangerously from the edge, struggling against her grip, insisting on jumping. Urmila, using all her strength, pulls him back into the room. Terrified and breathless, she storms out and confronts the workers. "Tell me the truth. What is in this mansion? My child would never do this on his own. Something is terribly wrong." An old worker steps forward and says gravely, "If you truly wish to know, read about your ancestors. Only then will you understand the history of this mansion." The mansion's history was recorded in a book kept at the village headman's house. Though the headman had passed away years ago, his sons still preserve the book. Urmila rushes to the house and retrieves it. As she reads, the horrifying truth unfolds. Years ago, a servant and a maid had fallen deeply in love while serving in the mansion. They had dedicated their lives to its upkeep. But one day, the queen's royal jewelry was stolen, and suspicion fell upon the maid. Without proof or mercy, the king sentenced her to death. She was buried alive. Unable to bear the loss, her grieving husband took his own life. Exactly a month later, the same king, tormented by guilt or perhaps by the unseen, drove his own sword through his throat and died. From then on, strange occurrences plagued the mansion. Tragedies and unexplained accidents followed, forcing its closure. No one had lived there for years, until now. And with Urmila's arrival, the restless spirits saw an opportunity to take their revenge once more. Realizing the horrifying reality, Urmila decides to leave immediately for the safety of her son. That very night, she gets into her car and drives toward the airport. But just as she reaches a deserted stretch of road, a shadow darts across. She swerves. The car loses control. It flips over and lands upside down. For a moment, everything is silent. Then, Urmila gasps. Her son stirs beside her. Miraculously, they are both unharmed. Urmila pulls her child out of the overturned car and starts running down the desolate road. Panic grips her, but she keeps moving. In the distance, she spots the headlights of an approaching vehicle. Desperate for help, she rushes into the middle of the road, waving her arms frantically and screaming for assistance. The car screeches to a halt just in time. As she approaches the vehicle, relief washes over her. It's a police officer. Breathless and trembling, Urmila hurriedly explains everything, tears streaming down her face. The officer listens attentively and then gestures for them to get inside his vehicle. He starts driving down the road, trying to reassure her. A few minutes later, they spot an old man walking along the roadside. As their car nears, the old man suddenly collapses onto the road in front of them. The officer immediately stops the vehicle and rushes out to check on him. The old man is unconscious. Concerned, the officer picks him up and places him in the back seat of the car, planning to take him to the hospital. As they resume their journey, something horrifying happens. The unconscious old man's hand suddenly moves and grips the officer's neck from behind. The officer gasps, struggling to free himself, his breath choking. His hands tremble as he slams the brakes. The car jerks to a sudden stop. In a state of panic, the officer draws his gun and, without hesitation, fires a shot at the old man. Even after taking a bullet to the head, the old man does not die. At that moment, both Urmila and the police officer realize the horrifying truth. This is no ordinary man. This is a ghost. Seeing the terrifying entity, Urmila grabs her child and bolts out of the car. Meanwhile, the police officer struggles desperately, finally managing to break free from the ghost's grip. As soon as the officer escapes, the three of them, Urmila, her child, and the officer, sprint down the road, their hearts pounding with fear. After running for what feels like an eternity, they spot bright, flickering lights in the distance. The police officer glances at Urmila and exclaims, "Madam, that's the airport, hurry." Summoning every last bit of strength, Urmila dashes toward the airport entrance with her child clutched tightly in her arms. The moment they step inside, as she finally breathes a sigh of relief. Her child is safe, thanks to the bravery of the police officer. But as she looks back, a chilling realization dawns upon her. The haunted mansion still remains under the control of dark, supernatural forces. And with that, this terrifying tale of horror comes to an end. If you enjoyed this spine-chilling story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an eerie tale like this one.